So today's Database of the Month webinar is Home Sweet Home with Gale. We're going to take a look at some of the Gale databases as we all become familiar with them before these go live for the public. You have opportunity to practice with these databases now. The information on the launch page is this one that I have on the screen. The link is galesupport.com/Wyoming, and I'll show you the databases blog where you can get that information. I'm going to go to that now. It's linked off the Wyoming State Library page here on the right hand side, where you'll find History Day at your library, the newspaper project. This is where the webinar archive is, and this Wild Databases blog. I'm going to click on that, and it will bring you into the databases blog. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that Des has created an entry here for Gale products for Wyoming. There you'll see the galesupport.com/Wyoming, where you can access and practice with all the new resources we're getting from Gale. There's also a link here that gives you some answers to questions. So she's put up a product information page. This is where you'll see the target dates here, what's going to be happening, how the contract works, what you can do to build links for your library website. You'll also see that something different with Gale is that we're doing it through IP geolocation, which means our patrons anywhere in the state of Wyoming will not have to use their library card. It'll use this geolocation. The only time they'll need to use their library card to access the Gale databases is when they go out of state. So that information is just here on that blog page under Gale Products for Wyoming, which is on the Wild Databases and Online Resources blog, which can be accessed here on the Wyoming State Library's homepage. So let's go back over to Gale. Right now, the databases are listed on this portal page. Eventually, they will be part of our Go Wild Databases page once they go live for the public. So they'll be incorporated with whatever we have as the launching page for all our databases. So you can get to the Gale and the EBSCO and Wilson from that page. But for today, we're going to be looking at the Gale resources that fit under our Home Sweet Home, and that's going to be the Culinary Arts Collection, the Home Improvement Collection, Hospitality, Tourism, and Leisure, General One File, and if we have time at the end, we might look at popular magazines or a little bit at the Health and Wellness Resource Center. These are in alphabetic order here on this list, so I'm just going to scroll down. You can go through those when you come in and practice with them, but I'm going to wander down here to the Culinary Arts Collection. This has cooking and nutrition magazines in it, searchable recipes, and it's kind of useful for both those in the trade and for those of us just doing our own home cooking and research about this kind of collection. What's interesting, and we'll look at that when we look at the Browse publications, as it covers a lot more than you might have thought. Some interesting journals that they've put in this collection. It tells us here that there's 250 major cooking and nutrition magazines, reference content, and it talks about restaurant reviews, industry information. You'll see that we have a search box here in the middle, and then they have new information from some of their publications that comes in on this home page. You'll see that they cover Sunset, Wines and Vines are some of them that they're highlighting. At the top on the orange bar, they have a Browse subject, Browse publications, and an advanced search. At the very top, there's a toolbox that gets you to the help screens. If you use this change databases, it will go back right now to all of the ones at Gale. What you'll want to do is notice that when we opened up Culinary Arts, it's in a separate window, and right behind it is our list of databases. So rather than click on the change databases, you'll just close this one out and go back to the list if you wanted to get into a new one. Some of the publications in here that we'll look at, Vegetarian Times, Gourmet, but they also have Journal of Medicinal Foods, Sport Nutrition, the Dietetic Association, There are blogs, a blog called Just Food, for example. There's Journal of Food Safety. There's industry information. So a lot of variety here in this Culinary Arts collection. So let's do a search here on canning recipes, for example. And I'm just going to click on search. Notice it has defaulted to a keyword search. Then I'm going to come in. The Gale database resources are arranged down the middle here. You have tabs across the top. This tells me that I got 20 magazines in my hit, no academic journals, no books, but I have a news item and one multimedia item. Then here's my results down the center. To take a look at these, let's just scroll down a little bit. It gives me my title, the publication, a little detail about the item, the beginnings of my abstract, and then you'll see on this first one, I have full text with graphics and PDF, so I get it in HTML or PDF format. If it didn't have graphics, we're just getting full text, not a PDF file. Some of them will be citations, some of them will be just an abstract, some will be full text. So you have quite a variety when you're looking at these. So let's take a look at one. I'm going to click on Preserving the Harvest here. So here's our article out of Vegetarian Times for September 2005. My title, scroll down, and here's my text of my article, including some recipes for canning. If I scroll back up, you'll see on the left-hand side that I can search within this publication, that being Vegetarian Times, the entire publication or just this particular issue. I also can look at related subjects from this article. So I can go out to a more specific subject, for example, food preservation. On the right-hand side, I have a little toolbox here. I can view the PDF pages by clicking on View PDF, and it tells me how many pages. So I have 3 pages there. So here it is in the scanned PDF format. And if I want to close that out, it has a close window here at the top left, and it takes me right back into my record. I also can look at citation information for these, print them, download the article. I can also download these now to an MP3. I can translate these into these languages, and there's a listen button that I can click on and do the text to speech for this particular item. And if I can find my speaker here.
Recipes, Life, Planet Home. Vegetarian Times 334, September 2.
Okay, so you always have access to that text to speech by clicking on the listen button. I'm going to go back to my search results, and that's here right above the tabs where it says back to search results, and that will get me back to my list. Notice that on the left-hand side, rather than searching within that issue, I can refine my results of my search. So with my 20, I could go in here and change that and refine the search within my results here. I can also scroll down. You'll see that it tells me if it's a brief article. It also tells me if there's a recipe with it. It will tell me if it's a longer item. So you can get a lot of information right out here on the main page. I'm going to scroll back up. The other thing we can do in this is you can browse subject or browse publications. I'm going to click on the browse publications because I think as we're all getting introduced to these new Gale resources, this is a great place to look to see what sorts of things are being searched within these specific collections and databases. If I click on a letter, for example, I'll click on the B, and this is where you'll get a good idea of the different variety. If you read that list, you'll see some things there you might not have expected in the Culinary Arts Collection, and I'll just leave that for you to make that decision. Now I'm going to click on the E, and we'll come over to another one, and you'll see that you get a nice list here. Scroll down. It tells you what kind of publication type. If you hover over the title, it brings up a little box telling me that index coverage from January 1st, 1988 to current, 12 issues a year. If I click on the title, then it will bring up more information. Now, once in a while, this has taken as long as a minute and a half to open. I think they're working on that. So hopefully we'll get one of these open, because what you'll find there, in addition to how far back they go with full text coverage, how far back they index, the type of publication it is, it will also give you the information about embargoes. So it will tell you how far back you'll have full text, or when full text will start, based on the instructions from the publisher. So you may have a 45-day embargo, you may have a 6-month embargo. So as you can see, this one's taking quite a while. There's another thing on that screen that I want to show you, so we're going to give it that time to load up, and that is that you can go back like we can in our EBSCO databases and look at previous issues of that particular item, and we'll take a look at that. So here's what this screen looks like when you pull up a publication. There's my title. It gives me a description of that publication. Then when I scroll down, here's the indexed coverage, the full text coverage. And what's interesting is to watch for is that it says January 1999 to current, but what confused me at the beginning was then all I saw was the January 2010 issue. If you look over here on the left, there's a little drop down arrow, and there's where you can do your back issues, is using that drop down arrow in this box. If I scroll down a little more, had there been an embargo on this, it would tell you here in this text information. I can select the current issue, or I can do a back issue using those arrows and go right into it. Now you'll see that environmental nutrition is the only thing up, and we're looking at the January 2010 issue. So it's all based on this particular magazine. So I can scroll down. Again, I can go into one of my articles. There's the full text of my article. And if I wanted to look at the subjects within that, they're here on the left-hand side. Okay, so let's look at another one. I'm going to close out the Culinary Arts just by clicking the X here, and behind it is my list of databases. I'm going to scroll on down here alphabetically, and we're going to go to the General 1 file. And this is, just as it sounds, a general periodical magazine database. And as you can see here in the description, business, current events, economics, education, environmental, hobbies, etc. So I'm going to click on the General 1 file, and keeping with our theme here with Home Sweet Home, I'm going to do a search on knitting and felting. I'm not going to click documents with just full text, but I could do that here in my limit results. And I can also do a specific subject search, but again it defaults to keyword, and I'm going to click on search there. Notice in my search I did do knitting and felting using a Boolean operator and. I can type them out there on the main search page, but there's also an advanced search where it will give you the drop down arrows that you can put in the Boolean operators and or not. So take a look at that if you like to do a more advanced search. Here's our list of results. I'm going to scroll down. We have 10 magazine articles, 1 book, some news items, and no multimedia. And I'm going to take a look at one of these. Let's scroll down and look at felted mini purses. If you're working with these new databases with your public, this is going to be a great one because it gets into some of these specific general interest magazines that they will be looking for. This one happens to be out of Crafts and Things. And if I scroll down, you'll see in our HTML format, here's the information about our felted mini purses. The key here is that you can come up and click on the View PDF. Now I'm going to get the scanned issue and the pictures. So then, here's what they're looking at when they come in. So they've got their information and they've got their instructions and the picture. And then all I have to do is close this window in the top left, and it brings me back out to my record. I can also print, download, and share these items, email these items. So you can email this, the full text of the instructions, and get those emailed to somebody at home or if you're working with a patron. And again, there's the listen button if you need the text to speech. To go back to my search results, it's this item right above the tabs, and it brings me back out here. One of the other things I want to show you is that when you're looking at magazines, let me scroll down and get to another one. I'm going to select this Make a Felted Tote. When we bring this article up, Within the article, it says, for full instructions, turn to page 136. You know how in some magazines and you've got to flip to another section. So here we've got this article, and it's only up to the part that says turn to page 136, and it's not part of this particular item. So I'm going to go back to my search results and scroll down a little bit farther. Here's my make a felted tote. Notice the next one down is the felted tote bag instructions, and it's page 136. Should you not be able to find that within the list on your results page, and you know that there's more within the item, you have two places you could go. One is up to your browse publications, like we saw when we were in our other database, and I could go to that publication, which is Country Living, so I could type that in, bring that up, Country Living, and then I could go into that. The other place, don't forget, is that you could go into the WULP, the Wyoming Union List of Periodicals, look up Country Living and get to that page as well. So when it says that and you don't have your full article, that's another place that you can go. I'm going to click it, as long as we're in Browse Publications, I'm going to click on another letter here. I'm going to go back into the B's. We're in the General 1 file, so you're getting everything here from Baby Talk to Backstage to Backpacker. To look at more within this alphabetic list, at the top right, you see the word Next, and I can go to the next page alphabetically within this list. The other thing that we can do on the left-hand side here under Target Audience is I could go to the ones, for example, Children's Upper Elementary. I'm going to click on that, and now I will get a new list. And so here's the ones listed in our publications for upper elementary kids, and there's my alphabetic list. And I can also go into a publication and format as well. To change databases again, we want to just close out General 1 file and come back into our list. And I'm going to continue down here alphabetically, and now we're going to take a look at the Home Improvement Collection. Like we saw with the Culinary Arts Collection, is that this one is not only for the general public, but can be used for those within the trade. In the description here, they talk about it covering topics from architectural techniques, tools and materials, zoning requirements, for the hobbyist and the professional. So if you've got not only folks in the trade, you've got contractors, but your do-it-yourselfers, all can come into this database to look up information. So we can look up, for example, we can put in compost and bring this up. And here's our list of results. I have, according to my tabs across the top, 530 magazines, 2 academic journals, 54 news items, and no multimedia. So here's my 530 magazines, and I can scroll down and take a look at those. But if I wanted to narrow that down a bit, because as we look, we see rental equipment, small stock journal with a compost toilet. This is beyond maybe if I was a do-it-yourselfer looking more for home use. I can come up here on the left-hand side where it says Refine Results, and I'm going to type in, add the word kitchen to my compost search, and search within these results. So I'm going to click the go. Now this is going to narrow my search down to that tidier search, and I have 8 magazines. So this is more what I was looking for. Cultivating Compost, Turn Kitchen Scraps, here's Convenient Composting at a Country Living, Composting Under the Kitchen Sink. So you can get a little more specific by using that Refine Results there at the top left. To go back out and do a new search, I just click on the Home on the top left along the orange stripe there. We could do something like electrical code if you were working with somebody, a contractor, for example. I can put in, for example, deck tiles and get specific names of companies. So in addition to how-tos within this, I can look up specific products. So here's a deck tile that you can use, and it tells me who makes it and what the sizes are. So a little more information for that do-it-yourselfer. If I come up to my tab, I can click on Academic Journals, And now it's coming out of something called Residential Architect, getting more into the scholarly journal materials. Again, I want to change my search, so I'm going to click on Home. And let's do one more here and do a subject search this time. I have a Browse Subject. I can go into that, or I can also change my search here in my search box to a subject search. But I'm going to come up here to Browse Subjects. One of the things that I'm frustrated with Gale on the subject searching is if I click on A under subject, for several pages I'm going to get this initials, A&T Systems, A&R Development, A Kendrick and Sons. So I'm not going to get to some content using my next button for quite some time. But on the left-hand side, I can type in a subject. Notice that they have an ampersand after the A. So I could just do another letter, replace that, and put an ampersand back if I wanted to do a general broad search. Or I can come up and type in a subject. So I typed in fencing. So I have, let's do fences here, since I didn't want fencing the sport. I can come in now. I did fences as my subject search, and it gives me fences structures. I can look at related subjects, or I can view subdivisions for that topic. So under fences, the structure, I have those subdivisions. By clicking on the plus or minus, I can open or close that. The other thing they offer up under Browse Subjects is see. So I have stone fences now. I can see stone walls. If I click on that, it brings me to the stone walls, and I can look at subdivisions for that. And now go into design and construction, for example. So if we're unsure of vocabulary being used in that database, you can use your Browse Subject, type it in, and then use the subdivisions and the C and go to those different subject topics. So here it brings me into stone wall construction. You'll see that in this one, in addition to what we've seen before with the full text with graphics and the PDF pages, that we have some items that are just a citation. If I go in there, I don't even have an abstract. All I have is a citation to that. So then what you'll want to do is go into, take that Home and Garden and search it in the WULP, the Wyoming Union List of Periodicals. It's listed alphabetically on the Go Wild Databases page, and see where else we might own that particular journal, either in full text or on a shelf in some library in the state. Once Gale goes live for the public, all the Gale databases will be listed there as well. So you can see that perhaps it's citation only in home improvement, but maybe it is in full text in one of the other databases like General One File, for example. So when you come across that, you're not dead in the water in trying to find those articles. We have other resources to find that. Okay, so let's go back out and look at another one of our databases here. I'm just going to close out Home Improvement, bring me back to my list, and we'll continue down here and look at Hospitality and Tourism. Again, just like we saw with Culinary Arts and Home Improvement, Hospitality, Tourism, and Leisure focuses not only for general use for our public, but also those in the trade. So I can go in here. Here's a bit of description. It also includes the Foder's Handbook, so if you travel with those. If you've got folks trying to go on a cruise, they can look at information there. But you can also use it for those in hospitality and tourism, those in catering, and that sort of industry. Searches look exactly the same. Here's our find box. You can browse subjects, publications, and there's an advanced search. So like I did before, I've done felting and knitting in my box. I can take that Boolean search and go up into my advanced search box and build a more advanced search. And here's my drop-down menus for and, or, and not. So I could come in here and I could put cooking schools, for example, and then use the and there and put travel. Now I could also do full text only. I can do publication dates. If I wanted to search to a specific publication title, like Travel and Leisure, National Geographic Travel, Cruise Guide, things like that, I could do that. Or I can just leave it and launch my search. So now they look all the same. I have 43 magazines, 2 news items here, and there's my list of results. Some of the items there, Travel Agent West, you'll see is just a citation, so you would not be able to get that in this particular database in full text. And then I have full text and full text items with graphics. Things out of Toronto Life, Travel Weekly, scroll on down here, Los Angeles Magazine, Conference and Incentive Travel. So a lot of variety here, both for the general user and for those in the travel industry. I'm going to click on the home button and come back out here. When you come into these databases, they will do this what's new, like we saw in that first database. So you can come in here, scroll through these, trying to get some ideas about some of the publications. And on the left-hand side here at the bottom, they feature a publication. So this time they're featuring National Geographic Traveler, and you can read more about that. Some great ways to get acquainted with all these new databases that we have through Gale. So we put something in, cooking schools and travel, that might be used for those in the industry, but you can also come in and put something in, this one, for example, dinner party, and click on search. And now I'm going to get a whole nother idea of publications in here. Maclean's, InStyle, Grocer, GQ, let me scroll down a little bit more, Newsweek International. So again, you've got the trade and you've got the general public information. And I've got the full text of my items or citations. If I want to save this search, they do have a mechanism in place that I can save that, and you can return to it. They have RSS feeds, so a lot for you to explore when you're looking into these databases. Browse publications, browse subjects, all available in this database as well. Okay, I'm going to close hospitality and tourism out, and I'm going to come back out here to our list. What I want to do before we go into another database is just kind of scroll down here. So hang on, I'm going to go back to the top, and we can take a little bit of a look here at this page. You'll see that we have all in alphabetic order. They do have some more information and webinar information. Desiree has been putting out information when we've offered, or Gale has offered, webinars and training. There's also been already been one Gale training on this. They did not archive that, but the Gale representative will be coming to the legislative reception on the 25th, and we'll be doing a training here, but we will do it as a webinar, and they will be going over more of these and just taking a general look at all of these, and I'll scroll down slowly as we talk about this, at the variety of databases that we have access to. The other thing they'll be talking about is the Gale Power Search that allows you to search across multiple Gale databases. Not everything we've got, but about half of them you'll be able to search across. We also have 22 items in the Gale Virtual Reference Library. They'll talk about that as well. So you'll have opportunity to hear more and more about these Gale databases as the month progresses, and that'll be on the 25th, but it will also be archived. So let me scroll down again here a little bit. You can see the variety that we have access to: agriculture, books and authors, business information, there's our Chiltons, computer, criminal justice, educators, and then they have 18th century collections online, 18th and 19th century newspapers. There's general science and global issues, health databases, history resources, so U.S. and world, to be a nice complement to the ones that we have through EBSCO, History Reference Center. We looked at home improvement and hospitality. But then there's also ones for kids. Kids info bits there. And let me scroll down a little bit more. The opposing viewpoints that they use for their research. Science Resource Center. And then we have Student Resource Center Gold and Student Resource Center Junior. We'll be looking at those that focus on the schools a bit more for next month's database of the month. And then we have some author series, so the Twain author series, some vocation, careers, and technical education materials that will go nicely with our Learning Express test database. And then there's a world history database. You can see that there's a lot and a lot of variety. So I'm going to scroll back up here, and let's just take a peek at one that's very different from what we've looked at, and that's one of these collections. So hang on, I'm going to scroll back up to the Health and Wellness Resource Center. And this one's going to look very different as a resource center as opposed to the collections or the databases. So this is what Health and Wellness Resource Center looks like. Different from the regular Gale databases, with our search boxes here. We can search in the entire document, do a subject search or a keyword search. But like we see in our Medline Plus, they also have a section under diseases and conditions. You can search drugs. There are directories to and information for finding a health professional or center, medical dictionaries, of course, and health assessments so folks can look for links and websites on their own health issues. On this front page here, in addition to the search box, they highlight items just like we see in our Medline Plus, which we'll still have, and you can do a find a drug here or directories all on this main page. Let me scroll back up here and let's just do a quick search. For example, let's do acupuncture and launch the search just to see how this one differs from the other ones we've looked at. We still get our tabs across the top here, but because it's a Health and Wellness Resource Center geared toward the general public, in addition to the magazines and journals, we're also getting books and fact sheets. So quick information for the general public, including pamphlets, videos, and news items. Our items here, our tab is highlighted on the green books and fact sheets, so that's what's coming up first down the middle. On the left-hand side, we can go to related searches, so if we wanted to be more specific, I did it as a general keyword search, but it allows me to go to the more specific subject search. And if I scroll down, there's other things that I can take a look at based on my search. If I click on the video link, I can see that I have, out of this consumer health library, I have 12 videos that I can pull up for my patrons about that particular topic. Magazines and journals, let's bring that up and take a look at some of those different titles. So everything from Business Wire to Complementary Therapies and Clinical Practice. We'll keep scrolling down. You'll see Journal of Sexual Medicine. So we've got scholarly journals as well as general interest magazines. Let me scroll back up here. We can also come in here and let's look at the diseases and conditions. Just like we have with our Medline Plus, I can come in here and select something from an alphabetic list. So we can look at, for example, aging, and it brings up a definition, a little synopsis, and a table of contents. So I can jump right to these particular parts within this article on aging. And on the left-hand side, I have see alsos based on the information in this particular article. And that's just under our diseases and conditions. I'm going to go back to our home page. So that's what one of them looks like, that's called a resource center. So we have quite a variety with our Gale resources. So let me come back to that list. You've got these resource centers like we saw with the health and wellness, and then we have our databases within these particular sources. And I see we're just getting bumped here, so you're not going to be able to see a screen. That was pretty good timing here for us to go ahead and move to some questions. So we've looked at a variety here, mostly based on home sweet home. So we've looked at culinary arts and hospitality, home improvement. But we've also looked at the Health and Wellness Center, our alphabetic list, these where you can get at information about Gale from the blog. So I'm going to go back to the State Library site. That was here, the database's blog. There's also the webinar archive where these will live once they're recorded. So any questions anybody have about the Gale resources, training that's coming up, how to get information from the blog, or anything within these particular databases.
Is there any way to search more than one database?
Yeah, for the Gale databases, it will be here under the Gale Power Search. And there is a list. Oh, is your screen back? Yeah, there we go. We keep losing our Yugma here. It's the Gale Power Search, and it will search across, I think, when I looked at the list of what it searches, I think it searches across about half of what we have. It will also be added to our federated search. I'm going to go to the Go Wild Databases page where the Gale databases will be incorporated, and it will be part of this federated search here as well. So then you'll be able to search across some of the EBSCO databases, SIRS, and some of the Gale databases.
Oh, good.
Are there any other questions from folks now that your screen's gone away again? We made it pretty far, didn't we?
I was going to say, it chose a good time to be finicky.
It did. I know a couple of people joined us once I got started. Do any of you have any questions? Are there things you might have missed at the beginning? Okay, well, I will be doing this again this afternoon at 3:30. If you missed some of it or you've got other staff that you'd like